What if Tanjiro's father, Kamado Tanjuro, was still alive when the story started? This is going to shake the story at its core. On the day when Tanjiro left to sell charcoal, there would still be someone in the house who could protect the family. But of course, can Tanjiro fight Muzan? That is the question. I'll be real with you guys. Tanjiro's chances of victory against Muzan are pretty slim. However, let me remind you that Tanjiro was strong. Sure, he had never had any proper swordsmanship training or Demon Slayer training, but he had perfected the Hinokami Kagura. He had the Demon Slayer mark on his forehead, and for what it's worth, Tanjiro is among the only 7 characters in the entire story who had been shown to be able to have the see-through world, or at least with the ability to access it. The others included Yoriichi, Kokoshibo, Tanjiro, Gyome, Muichiro, and Obanai. What makes Tanjiro special in this is that he awakened Transparent World without any sort of special combat training whatsoever. To add on to this, Tanjiro was also able to use the Selfless State, and guess what? The only other characters who could use Selfless State were Yoriichi and Tanjiro. There is no other way to go about it. Despite not being a fighter, Tanjiro had all of the power-ups he needed to fight just about any demon, even if it's Muzan. Plus, the See-Through World, Selfless State, and the Demon Slayer mark, not to mention Hinokami Kagura, with all these power-ups and abilities did make him a force of nature to the point where he could defeat a bear as naturally as he breathed. So yes, with all the context out of the way, this is how it would have gone if Tanjiro's father never passed away. This is the story if he became a Demon Slayer. Welcome everyone back to the channel. My name is TK. If you guys are liking the content, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. We're only growing stronger and faster every day. Spoilers ahead for the Demon Slayer manga and anime. Let's get into it. Let's start with the night when Tanjiro was away and Muzan appeared at the Kamado residence. Tanjiro would immediately sense Muzan's presence and come outside to confront the Demon King. And as you can expect, the moment Muzan sees him, he'll stop and reconsider for a moment. Why? It's because of the Hanafuda earrings. Since Tanjiro would still be alive, he'd be wearing the earrings instead of Tanjiro. Which means that the moment Muzan sees him standing in front of the house, Muzan's PTSD will be triggered. And it's going to trigger much worse than it did when he saw Tanjiro for the first time. Because unlike Tanjiro would feel exactly like Yoriichi because of the Selfless State. As for Tanjiro, his see-through world would be able to immediately make him realize that Muzan is a threat unlike anything he has ever seen or experienced before. Naturally, Tanjiro would also see Muzan's 7 hearts and 5 brains. Now, it can go either one of 2 ways. Muzan would flee the scene and send some other demons to come and take care of Tanjiro. It'd be like the same approach he used with Tanjiro. This is the first option. The other one is to go for the kill in order to take out Tanjiro right then and there. Let's consider the second option first. If Muzan gets over his PTSD and attacks Tanjiro right then, the fight would obviously not be an instant annihilation because See-Through World would help Tanjiro see through Muzan's attacks. But ultimately, Tanjiro is not a fighter. Even though he had everything necessary to kill Muzan, he was not a true combatant. If his opponent was a lower moon, he could have figured out his powers and defeated them easily, but this is Muzan we're talking about. Muzan would be cautious of Tanjiro's sun breathing. Plus, let's not forget that Tanjiro had an extremely frail body, so unless he knew exactly who Muzan was and how to fight him, there are simply too many variables to consider. Tanjiro can lose in a number of ways, but he would have to act as Yoriichi in order to kill Muzan. Yes, if the second scenario takes place, Tanjiro would die, but considering Muzan's personality, the first scenario is much more likely. He'll walk away at the sight of Tanjiro and then send the strongest demons in the area to go and kill the man. It'd be extremely unlikely for there to be an upper moon in that area, so let's assume that Muzan sends a lower moon demon. Tanjiro would confront and fight him because of course he would, and much like how he defeated the massive bear with a stick, he'll be able to defeat a lower moon too because honestly, no lower moon is standing a chance against someone who has See-Through World, Selfless State, the Demon Slayer mark, and Hinokami Kagura. Ultimately, the night would end with every member of the Kamado family still alive. In the morning, Gyu would pull up to the Kamado residence because it would be revealed that the lower moon Tanjiro defeated is the same demon Gyu was chasing. By this point, Tanjiro would have also returned and he'd have known something is up because of his ability to smell. Let's assume that Giyu arrives shortly after Tanjiro is already back. The three of them will have a discussion about what happened last night, while Tanjiro's mom makes tea for Giyu, the guest, and Tanjiro's siblings play outside in the snow. Now, when Tanjiro explains everything that happens with the man in the black suit, who has 7 hearts and 5 brains, Giyu would naturally feel curious. He hasn't seen Muzan either, so he won't think that Tanjiro met Muzan, but he'd feel intrigued enough to immediately report everything to Ubuyashiki. Of course, the Ubuyashiki family knows about the Demon Slayer mark, and they'll realize that Tanjiro is not just a charcoal seller. Giyu would return and inform the Kamado household that they had been invited to the Ubuyashiki estate. He'd also mention that their lives are in danger, which would prompt Tanjiro to accept the invitation and temporarily move to the Ubuyashiki estate with his family. Once the Kamado family is at the Ubuyashiki estate, Kage Ubuyashiki will finally explain the situation. Note that by this point, it still won't be clear that Tanjiro knows sun breathing and that he met Muzan. But much like how the Ubuyashiki estate was able to see the potential in Muichiro and Yuichiro, they would see the potential in Tanjiro, especially because Tanjiro has the Demon Slayer mark. This is the point in our what-if scenario where Tanjiro and Tanjiro are going to have an important talk about which step they should take for the future of their family. Tanjiro: when I saw that man standing in front of me on that cold night, I had chills. Tanjiro says. You mean the one you saw first? The one in the black suit? Tanjiro asks. Indeed. I could immediately tell that there was some sort of connection between me and that man, and after conversing with Sir Ubuyashiki, my suspicions were confirmed. Listen, Tanjiro, it's not just me. The Hinokami Kagura is a counter to that man. I am not sure if it was Kibutsu Muzan or not, but it appears that I'll have to join the Demon Slayers, Tanjiro declares. Interesting. The Hinokami Kagura, eh? Yes, it does appear similar to the breathing styles they mentioned, but I'm not gonna let you do this alone, Dad. I'll join this Demon Slayers as well, Tanjiro says. No, you're still too young. Kage Ubuyashiki told me that he'll take care of you guys, and even bear the expenses of your education. Leave this place with your mom and siblings, Tanjiro. It is not wise to stay at the heart of a battlefield, Tanjiro says. Dad, what are you saying? You want us to leave you with the Demon Slayers to die? Tanjiro asks. Listen, Tanjiro, if you also join the Demon Slayers, who are going to protect the family, don't worry, you can still get stronger. Just leave the Demon Slayer stuff to me for the time being, Tanjiro declares. Later, Tanjiro and the rest of the Kamado household move to Okinawa so that they continue their lives there. There's still a frequent exchange of letters thanks to the Demon Slayer crows, and Tanjiro as well as Nezuko start training in order to master the Hinokami Kagura as well. As for Tanjiro, he becomes proficient in using Hinokami Kagura like a breathing style in just 1 week. Yes, by the end of a week, he is already strong enough to be considered a Hashira. Ubuyashiki realizes that Tanjiro's breathing style and Hinokami Kagura are actually sun breathing, which is the first and the most effective breathing style against Muzan. Of course, Muzan had already realized what was up after his lower moon demon was defeated, and so he'd call upon the upper moon to jump and kill Tanjiro. He'd personally ask them to stop their normal activities until after they have killed Tanjiro. This would lead to an all-out war between the Demon Slayers and the upper moon demons. And while the Demon Slayers will suffer many losses, including the deaths of a few Hashira, it's fair to assume that just having a fully realized sun-breathing user on their side would give them the edge they need to defeat the upper moon. Tanjiro would fight Kokoshibo and Giyu, and thanks to Kokoshibo, he'll be able to learn much more about the sun-breathing and especially about his first user, Yoriichi Tsugikuni. After the fight with Kokoshibo, Tanjiro would collapse from exhaustion and end up entering that dream world where Sumiyoshi would show him the memories of the past. It'd be similar to how Tanjiro had the whole Yoriichi flashback during the final fights. It would take a couple of weeks for Tanjiro to wake up, and it would be revealed that the man's weak body has finally caught up to him. He won't be able to continue as a Demon Slayer any longer. Conveniently, Muzan will stay hidden because why in the hell would he want smoke right after losing his upper moon squad? This would allow Tanjiro to pass on the mantle to Tanjiro and Nezuko. They'll become Demon Slayers, and after 5 more years, they'd be just as strong as Tanjiro. You can argue that Muzan would have another strong upper moon squad by the time that Tanjiro and Nezuko become sun-breathing pillars, but I assure you that won't be the case. It took Muzan centuries to make demons as strong as Kokoshibo, Akaza, and Doma. Sure, he can still make upper moons as strong as Kaigaku perhaps, but they would get defeated by any competent Hashira. Finally, 5 years after Tanjiro retires, Tanjiro and Nezuko would eventually confront and defeat Muzan. Overall, if Tanjiro's father never passed away and became a Demon Slayer, the story would start off very differently. there would be fewer tragedies, and Tanjiro would be much stronger because not only would he get more years to train, his teacher would be his own father. Decades later, Tanjiro would pass away due to old age, much like Yoriichi. And with that said, that's it guys. This is my take on what if Tanjiro's father never passed away and became a demon slayer. If Tanjiro is still around, he'll be the one who joins the demon slayers. He'll learn to use the Hinokami Kagura offensively, and thanks to him, the demon slayer mark was spread around to all the other Hashira. In due time, it would lead to the downfall of the upper moon, and it would also prepare the perfect stage for Tanjiro and Nezuko to kill Muzan as the siblings who had the sun itself on their side. Now, I'm sure you guys have a lot to add to the story, so feel free to go all in the comment section. Let's continue this conversation down below. Do you think there's anything I missed, or anything that could have been changed, or anything that I should have done differently? Just let me know. And also make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. It helps the channel grow and also inspires me to keep making videos just like this one. Well, with that said, sun breathers, I'll see you all in the next video.